Very good evening to each and every one of you folks. Let's fight, let's fight, let's fight, let's fight. Share the live for us. Let's fight, good folks. Smash that emoji button as well. Great to have all of you on the live here with us this evening. Who are part of the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton. And we advise you folks every time you get a chance to hear the leaders of the coalition speak. Listen, folks, and make notes as well and ask questions on the live too. We were listening in there. I want to say thanks to Marvin Williams and the team there at the PNCR and Nation Watch for bringing us an hour plus of riveting content as they explore this cash grant that originated, that first idea, germinated and originated with Professor Clyde Thomas, and that's some of what they were talking about. And that live Pace and Power, Chance with Harry. Good to have you and Diane Fordyce. Let us know if you're reading us loud and clear tonight from your part of the vineyard. Samore Williams, we see you there too. Elderly Gilbert and Claire Alexis Tromley Richmond, we see you too. Siobhan Fortune, or Shauna Fortune rather, my apologies there. Tessa Hayward and Gloria Van Kutten Felix, you guess what? Your congratulations. Charles Nelson, and we see you there, Lyndon Gill and Beatrice Selby. All of our favorite people on the broadcast tonight, folks, on the live. Really great to have all of you with us from the many, many places you all are joining us from, even the others. We have everybody on the live tonight, folks. Everybody. Good to have, just as you guys hit the ground running today, and the day just kept on getting better from there. How are you guys doing? How are you all doing tonight, folks? How are you all doing tonight? Let's begin. We got to fight card. Set. We set. Let's bring that back one more time for all the folks who are now joining us. Oh, look, comments. Shauna, Sheena, Deborah, Maxine, Melanie, Brennan, Daphne, Deborah, Marlon, June. Good to have you. Michaela, Andrew Coates. Happy to see each and every one of you on the live tonight, folks. On the live. What wouldn't do for a good cup of coffee, or a nice glass of Cokes. Norma, good to see you on the live. Clive and Everett, Glennis and Sharon, Tessa, Eula Lafferman, Everett, and all the other folks who are joining us tonight. We got the opener set, folks. We got the opener set. Fired up and ready to go. The Working People's Alliance. I think if I went in the Alliance for Change, I might have any WPA. The Working People's Alliance, because another world is necessary. According to the late, great folks, Dr. Walter Rodney, another world is necessary. I can't take the one way in with these PPP people at all. And he posited, in part of his intellectual thinking, Dr. Walter Rodney, another world is necessary. Another doctor that I like? Another doctor that I like? Dr. David Hines. I like everybody in the coalition. Every single body in the coalition. Everybody I like. Maybe with the exception of a couple. Maybe with the exception of a couple. I like everybody. Love me some Dr. David Hines. The WPA had a press conference quite recently, and I love how in a very methodical way Dr. David Hines went through this whole cash grant issue. And part of what he said is that the proposals presented by Arfan Ali, the installed president of Guyana, is a hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge of items, the good doctor said, aimed at preying on the populace who are tired of economic frustration and looking for relief from any quarter. So they catch you when you're down. I read an essay. Where did I read that? Many moons ago. That says, when you are tired, your willpower is diminished. And you're tempted to say yes to a lot of things. Had you been in finer form, you would have stand up against. So I feel it in my spine when Dr. Hines says they are preying on a populace tired of economic frustration and looking for relief from any quarters. So even though the 200,000, you see, it's just 1,000 US, not finished like that. Just like that in today's economy. It's a hot sponge. It's nothing much. I feel it in my spine when Dr. David Hines said it was a hot sponge. Preying on a populace tired of economic frustrations and looking for any relief. Any relief. Take a look. Take a listen to what Dr. David Hines said recently.
President Ali's recent address to the National Assembly has not unexpectedly aroused much discussion in the media, the political opposition, and the public at large. That the president chose the National Assembly to give what was essentially a party campaign speech confirms the view in many quarters that the doctrine of party paramountcy is alive and well in Guyana. Second, the speech, which includes at least 3 big policy initiatives long advanced by the political opposition, is a tacit admission by the PPP and the government that their opponents have generally been correct on what needs to be done to translate our recent economic growth into meaningful development. Third, the speech is also an admission that the measures which he boasted the PPP government has implemented to increase disposable income to the Guyanese people have either been woefully inadequate or have failed to achieve the stated outcomes. While the WPA generally welcomes the initiatives announced by the president as a baby step forward, we bemoan the fact that, taken as a whole, they represent more of an election gimmickry rather than a genuine attempt to address the country's debilitating social and economic problems. Although electioneering is part of political life, any responsible government should ground its stewardship of the country in a broader framework. The proposals represent a hodgepodge of items aimed at preying on a populace tired of economic frustration and looking for relief from any quarter. WPA feels that these short-term relief measures will, in the final analysis, do very little to bring about sustainable change in the economic fortunes of workers, families, and the poor. In this regard, WPA feels that Guyana urgently needs sustained socio-economic development plan, a sustained socio-economic development plan, rather than mere temporary measures as outlined by the president. Nowhere in the president's address, for example, did he frontally confront the persistent poverty that continues to take its toll on the populace. It is estimated that approximately 42% of Guyanese live on less than 5.5 US dollars per day. This is unacceptable in a country which boasts one of the highest GDP growths in the world. The WPA continues to believe that direct cash transfers to the citizens is one of the most potent ways to tackle this problem. Towards this end, WPA takes note of the president's announcement of the 200,000 cash transfer to each household. We recall that when Professor Clive Thomas first floated the idea in August 2018, Vice President Jagdeo said it was technically unsound and could not even be considered before 2030, if ever. Attorney General Nandlal said if implemented, cash transfers would destroy families and turn Guyanese into parasites. That the government does now embrace the idea, albeit in an unstructured, haphazard way, it is an admission of its own lack of economic foresight and paucity of ideas to meet the urgent needs of the new dispensation. In the end, WPA feels the announcement smacks of political opportunism. Nowhere in the world has there been genuine development based on opportunism. Facing mounting pressures to address the skyrocketing cost of living and the widening gap between growth and development, the government has resorted to ideas from the opposition without giving credit to the latter. This is crass politics at its best that cannot be sustained. While the cash transfer should be welcomed by Guyanese, especially the poor and the working poor, Guyanese should not be fooled. The government has embraced the form of the WPA's proposal, but rejects its essence. It is at best a haphazard undertaking that is potentially burdened with opportunities for corruption. First, the president gave no indication how the government arrived at the dollar amount. Second, it is a one-off payment rather than a structured, sustainable initiative with a stated outcome. Third, it is not clear what distributive mechanism would be used to ensure that all citizens benefit from it. Fourth, the government has not been forthcoming on its definition of households. WPA feels that a viable cash transfer policy must be linked to poverty alleviation. It must also benefit from a feasibility study to determine its scope and design. It must be grounded in law so that it is shielded from the whims and fancies of the political executive. It must specifically be a percentage of oil and gas revenues. Finally, it must be an ongoing government program rather than a haphazard government payout subject to partisan manipulation. WPA will have more to say on this matter in the coming weeks.
Yep. The underlying is the need for structure. Is the need for structure. And by now, you've heard that from the PNCR, you have heard it from the Alliance for Change, you've heard it now from the WPA, talking about a structured and sustained approach. These one-off things ain't gonna do nothing. And give credit where credit is due. This is a government that like thief people projects, that like thief your policies. And then they come and say, you didn't do nothing. Why can't you give a man like Professor Clive Thomas the credit where credit is due? And that's how the wicked, and there's end up in problems, you know, end up in problems. So I want to thank the WPA, the work for that statement on the cash grant. Yep, that profound statement on the cash grant, and not this hodgepodge. Let's go for something that is structured, rooted in law, away from the claws of these political hacks and quacks. Hacks and quacks on all fronts. Yep. Now it's the opening focus in case you're now joining us. We're going to 592 now. Y'all know once we come here. Once we come here, beautiful young lady, copped international title recently. You know, might as well start there, some light information. Then, what is this thing we're hearing? We're on the PPP, a conspiracy in which they solicited a former policeman, was a policeman then, to carry out a hit on Brother Crummy Wing, who you know is a fierce advocate against the PPP, spent many days protesting, sometimes all alone, in front of the Attorney General's office there. Were we hearing of this conspiracy to procure a man to commit this dastardly act? And this nation still deserves an answer. Who killed Crummy Wing? We need a COI into that as well. And we saw HGPTV Nightly News telling us, folks, that this former policeman says, or there's allegations and there are tapes and recordings and evidence of senior government functionaries in the PPP who procured him for this murder, for high assassination plot. So I'm waiting to see the rest of what AGPTV Nightly News and, of course, phenomenal journalists we have in Travis Chase. What comes next in this sordid saga? Yep. Stacy, how do you solve a problem like Maria, like Stacy? And then, folks, wedding house story. This matter just keep thickening. The plot thickens, folks. Wedding house story. The wedding planner, the nanny, and the groom. One big cook-up story. That is the Guyana Police Force. A couple of the things we got to get into, folks. But before we get there, as we get there, as we touched there in the WP and this whole issue of the 200,000K cash grant, folks. 200,000 cash grant. We touch on that. I said 200K. Did I say 200,000K? 200K. Forgive me if I said that. The Alliance for Change said they took the issue of wastage of resources to the State Department of the United States. Wastage of resources. I think it was an international organization that said 14 cents in every dollar, or 40 cents rather in every dollar, goes as waste in this country. 40 cents of every dollar goes missing because of corruption. If we clamp down on wastage alone and corruption, we could fund so many initiatives. Higher pay for teachers, better pay for nurses, for men and women in uniform, free education top to bottom in a structured way, in a very, very, very structured way. Listen to some of what the Alliance for Change said recently as we head into it.
The Gas to Energy program formed part of the discussion between the Alliance for Change and the United States State Department during a recent visit by the AFC. Leader Attorney Nigel Hughes told a press conference on Friday that his party raised several concerns.
Principal amongst them, of course, was the fact that there was an absence of any sort of feasibility work done in relation to the gas to energy project. We did say that we were concerned that this was an approach that the government had adopted across several projects, but particularly with the gas to energy project, we were concerned that there was no feasibility.
The Gas to Energy program formed part of the discussion between the Alliance for Change and the United States State Department during a recent visit by the AFC. Leader Attorney Nigel Hughes told a press conference on Friday that his party raised several concerns.
Principal amongst them, of course, was the fact that there was an absence of any sort of feasibility work done in relation to the gas to energy project. We did say that we were concerned that this was an approach that the government had adopted across several projects, but particularly with the gas to energy project, we were concerned that there was no feasibility. We were concerned that they would be approaching an international financial institution like Exim Bank without any feasibility work being done. We did indicate to them that rather belatedly we learned of the environmental technical feasibility that was done after the submission.
He said that there had been previous feasibility studies that recommend several optimal locations. None of these locations was Wales, West Bank, Demerara that the government chose. There were other issues.
Of a new electoral list. We raised the question about biometrics. We raised the recommendations that had been made by all of the agencies who were providing an overview at the 2020 elections. Those included the Carter Center, included even the US, included various persons who reviewed the 2020 elections and made specific recommendations, particularly in relation to a new voters list.
The FC also discussed the management of the national resources, particularly the financial resources.
Where they were proceeding with several projects which had no feasibility, and the fact that none of these projects were actually brought to the National Assembly for discussion. And we indicated to them that there was a real risk that if they continued in this manner, not only would the country be placed in some level of jeopardy in the future because there would be excessive borrowing, lack of feasibility, therefore the viability of a lot of the projects that they were going ahead with were problematic.
AFC executive David Patterson said that one of the concerns was the ongoing registration of migrants.
Particularly the Venezuelan migrants, they were particularly interested in that. We indicated while we have no objections for anybody who is legally entitled to be registered. The opaqueness is of concern.
The issue of money laundering and the recent sanctions also formed part of the discussion.
Yep, welcome back, folks. And our apologies for the breakage in the initial publication of that story. Welcome back. So we're dealing with a lot of things tonight, folks, of which one of them was heard around the country today from Visit Guyana Stacey Rahman. Of course, you know this stemmed from the what do you call it? What do you call it? A petition that was made to Facebook to block the page, the profile of Gordon Mosley, because apparently he published a video that she was contended was the sole purpose of herself and Visit Guyana, even though the Ministry of Tourism and the Minister of Tourism, Onage Waldron, have said that they've had a hand and part in that, and Gordon and the Ministry of the Department of Tourism, is it, said that they had an agreement to publish this video on Gordon Mosley's page. And all that aside, Mr. Hammond today, Stacey Hammond, issued an apology, even though some persons were saying it was artificial use. There was use of artificial intelligence in the generation of this apology. Now, all that aside, an apology was issued and accepted by veteran journalist Big Uncle Gordon Mosley. Yep. I saw a lot of folks saying that this was big man things. The manner in which Gordon accepted his apology, he said it was the latest apology from Mr. Hammond. Gordon's a little tired here. Oh God, it's not an apology, yeah? You ever say to your child, just do the right thing. Don't apologize. Just do the right thing. Latest apology from Mr. Hammond regarding, of course, the previous issue we mentioned. And Gordon expressed gratitude. Right? He said he hoped it served as a learning experience, as a teachable moment. Don't act hastily. Please. Think about your actions first. This is broadly. Let us all think about our actions while recognizing, he says, that not everyone will agree with Stacey Hammond's approach on social media. Mr. Mosley encouraged her to reassess the way she was conducting business on Visit Guyana side. If we want people to keep coming to this country, and there will come, make changes in moving forward. He also urged supporters to avoid turning their defense of him into the bullying of Mr. Hammond. Come on now, folks. Come on now, let's behave ourselves. You know, you got a point to make it, but don't unduly, you know, make it, as it were. And Mosley reminded everybody during a post on Facebook that despite disagreements, there's a need for compassion. Now, there's a word you don't see often in this country. There's a need for compassion and respect. Compassion and respect. He emphasized the importance of pulling back from cyberbullying and treating each other with kindness. Sending some kindness to all of you out there tonight on TikTok, especially. On TikTok, especially. That being said, one hopes that that is behind us. You see, we started on the light side tonight. One hopes that all of that is behind us, and at least for the rest of the year, there'll be no more apologies coming for anything that was done in any silly fashion. Let us all slow down and think about our action. Ariane Dahlia Richmond, Guyanese beauty, recently won the Miss Global International 2024. Ring the bell one time for Ariane Dahlia. Fantastic, beautiful, bright, brilliant young woman. They said this, she's been crowned the Miss Global International 2024. Of course, we were all with immense pride. Thank you, Dahlia, putting us on the map in a positive way after the blackout at Providence and this nonsense here with suspending of Gordon's page. We could use a bit of good news. Thank you so much, Dahlia. We were all filled with immense pride. She was crowned on October 13th at the Hotel Indigo in the Cayman Islands. Yep, there were 18 other contestants vying for this prestigious title of Miss Global International. 18 others. You know, Aria beat them bad. Aria beat them bad. Beat them like a eel. She won multiple awards, including Best Interview, Best National Costume, Best Evening Gown, Best Talent. She cleaned house. Best everything. Congrats to her. Best everything. It is said that her eloquent response in the final round captivated the audience and solidified her victory. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yep. So thank you, Ariane, Dahlia, Richmond, and we look forward to continued greatness. Continued greatness all the way, folks. Ring the bell one more time for Dahlia, folks. One more time. Look what else we're covering, folks. Look what else we're covering. I think that's the end of the good news. That's the end of the good news. Right there, y'all know the political campaign start. Share fun. Run in the Northwest. Run in the Northwest. Now, we saw a protest by the people there in Whitewater Village quite recently. The roads. They said they're fed up. 4 years. All of this oil pumping. Resources being misused. Oh, bring somebody being a Irfan. That was a cry to folks at Whitewater Village. Well, Irfan run down the quick, and announced a construction project there for an additional 1 kilometer of road in this Region 1 village of Whitewater. Yeah. Believe it or not, they said they're aiming to improve accessibility, especially during the rainy season. Right? They say, really, Julie, we want y'all go to vote. Vote for we. Vote for we. Yep. Of course, it's Helmut Cash grant that might or might not start distribution in another 5 months. Well into election year. Well into the election year. Yep. So we're watching that, folks. We are watching that. As they were in the Northwest there. More announcements, folks. More announcements, you know. We knew if you're on the ground in these issues every day, you're having the pulse of these issues every day. You understand what's happening in this country. People are tremendously dissatisfied, upset. They are with this government. So they announced TVET plan. They're going to expand some training programs. I hope it's not like the one they're doing through WIN. You know, they say they're going to have some world-class training in the hinterland. Vocational training, higher educational training, state-of-the-art practical instruction center. This sounds to me like something the University of Guyana announced separately. Recently, the government is now trying to cash upon. Sounds a bit like that to me. My God, what a difference a day makes. One protest and it's helter-skelter. Scamperation with them in the hinterland. So they said they're bringing, some improvements in the educational sector in the hinterland, the infrastructure sector there in the hinterland, school grants, educational resources. My God, you know, campaign season is on, folks. When you see things like this happening, you know the campaign season is on. Yep. So lots happening in that regard. Apologies there. Lots happening in that regard. A little upside down. A lot of announcement. TVET this, road, light, water. Yep. When you find some pack, you got to bust the back, folks. You got to bust the back. A Saturn, 16-year-old, is hospitalized after she was stabbed several times on Monday. This is in Essequibo in Region 2. This dastardly act occurred on the Abram Zul public road, folks. Here's the story behind this now. They're telling us this particular young woman, this 16-year-old, she'd accused a gentleman of rape in the past. And she was on the road, but apparently she came into contact with him and he was driving in a reckless manner, apparently. She reported the matter to the police station and left. That the fellow was in her vicinity and driving in a reckless manner. Well, who tells you to do that? The story tells us that he drove behind the car she was in, hitting the car from the back. And when the car came to a stop, he entered the vehicle. And this is when he stabbed her several times about her body on the Abram Zul public road. She's a fifth form student at Joan Cecilia Secondary School. And this 27-year-old taxi driver, we're being told, stabbed her several times. As I said, he's known to her. Allegedly sexually assaulted her in the past. You all see the madness that should consume the attention of the Guyana police force? You all understand the issues that should really have our attention? But no. Them boys busy with wedding house, wedding planning. Big money, folks. Big money. Wedding planning. We hope that this young lady gets all the attention and care and resources that she needs at this time to be fully rehabilitated and to come past this dark period in her life. That is our hope and prayer. That is our hope and prayer, folks. The census. The man in the street knows what is happening with this census. This census has cost this country over $2 billion. And the man in the street knows they got political interference here. But the people at the Bureau of Statistics, they've been procured to put out a statement in which they're saying that these claims of political interference is not so. Well, how come Jack do them alone? No, the numbers in the census, the Bureau of Statistics says it's not so. Said they've had some setbacks, like COVID. It's not them alone. So regionally, there have been lots of setbacks with censuses. Right? is that the plural? Y'all don't get me out here looking thin. We're talking about the 2022 population housing census results. It says not only them, regionally. And they have stayed true to the Statistics Act of 1965 and strict adherence to international standards. This is according to the Bureau of Statistics. They said these delays, as I've said, they've explained them away as stemming from challenges to post-COVID respondent fatigue. People fatigue in this country. And Bureau of Statistics fatigue. The Guyanese people have paid handsomely for this census, 2 billion plus. Where is it? Where is it? They said it's coming soon. Another final thing, a preliminary report is forthcoming. They didn't put a date on it. Coming soon. They said it's going to provide accurate, evidence-based data, urging citizens as well, the Statistics Bureau, to avoid baseless speculation. But the longer y'all check over there, the more speculations there will be. It's just the terrain. Bureau of Statistics, they're telling you guys to wait for the official announcement of this preliminary report. Wait for it, they say. Wait for it. Coming soon. We don't want to wait in vain. For the love of the Ghana Bureau of Statistics. Wedding house things, folks. Wedding house things. Lawyers getting good work. Now that vows have been broken to serve and protect, lawyers getting big, big, big work. Money spending. Of course, you know by now. Of course, you know by now. Deputy Commissioner of Police. Deputy Calvin Brutus amassed some $44.9 million in wedding gifts. Wedding gifts. He's married last year. Made a big deposit at the Demerara Bank in January of this year. $44.9 million. It was gifts. And it was alleged, it is being alleged, that Hickens, we haven't seen Hickens dispute what is in the media, that he collected $8.5 million from a businessman. He called Pegasus, booked the place. He paid for the food from this $8 million. He paid for the music. He paid for the furniture from this $8 million. Yep. You know who had some of it today, folks? You know who had some of it today, recently rather, on his program? Huh? Speaking out. One and only former senior policeman, former assistant commissioner of police, Paul Slow. Paul Slow know the whole thing. Paul Slow know the whole thing.
The wedding planner. Before, yeah, share the wedding planner. Yesterday, Starbuck News is reporting that the top cop told Soku he accepted envelope, singular envelope, with $8.5 million from businessman to finance Brutus' wedding. Oh, Lado, corruption, this thing stinks to high heaven. That is what Starbuck News is reporting in yesterday's edition. The top cop, referring to Iken, said he received an envelope. He accepted an envelope with 8.5. First of all, that envelope got to be a massive envelope because $8.5 million, the largest denomination Guyana gets is a 5,000, a Granger. And to get 8.5, 8 million can be 16 wads. Plus the 5 is the next one. So it's 17 wads of $500 bill, $100 bill, $5,000 bill each. There's a massive envelope you got to get to all of that. And then let me read a part, because so we going to come back to this. As silence continues over Soku money laundering probe into Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus. Congratulations, Stabrook Hughes. You get it right now. Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus. The Sunday Stabrook has learned that Top Cop Clifton Ikin submitted a statement to the investigators acknowledging that he collected an envelope with $8.5 million in cash from a businessman to offset the cost of Brutus's wedding at Pegasus Atlantic Conference Center. That is why he says, Ikin's statement to the investigators, seen by Sunday Stabrook. Ikin's statement to the investigators, seen by Sunday Stabrook, will raise further concerns about the culture in the police force in accepting money and incentives from business community, despite the fact that this could undermine the role of law enforcers. The statement by Ikin was meant to corroborate Brutus's contention that Brutus has collected a large amount of monetary gifts at his wedding, which were later deposited at the bank and which then triggered a money laundering investigation by the Special Organized Crime Unit. Now read the rest here. I'm not going to read the rest here because I noted in today's paper now, we're going to come back to this on Wednesday, but in today's Stabrook News, they're saying, head of the Special Organized Crime Unit, Assistant Commissioner of Police Fazil Karabash, has denied a report in yesterday's Sunday Stabrook that the Top Cop Clifton Ikin submitted a statement to the Soku investigators acknowledging that he collected an envelope with $8.5 million in cash from a businessman to offset the cost of Brutus's wedding at the Pegasus Suit Atlantic Conference Center. The quote, Soku would like to place on record that that the ongoing investigation has no such statement from Ikin, and that no such statement about Ikin exists in the file. Let me read this carefully. I'm coming back Wednesday with this, Hear what it says. Soku would like to place on record that the ongoing investigation has no such statement from Ikin, and that no such statement about Ikin exists in the file. Oh, that the police nearby, it didn't exist in the file, but I have seen what purports to be a copy of the statement with a signature that looks like Ikin's signature.
Yep. Welcome back to Wedding House Things. So it's not that no statement exists in the Soku file. According to Fazal Karimbash, the head of Soku, no statement is in the file. But let me bring y'all up to speed. We told y'all last evening that Big Smith said that the Minister of Local Government, Anand Prasad, he was the one pushing. One of the persons rather pushing. He was that the Minister of Local Government, Anand Prasad, minister within the ministry, he was one pushing for this investigation to go forward with Soku to bring pressure on Hickens, to bring pressure on Calvin Brutus. Yesterday, Big Smith got a lawyer's letter. Yep, he got a lawyer's letter for this article that was published through his media house. From government minister exposes plot to have Soku target Top Cop. And then remember, to bring you all up to speed with some other happenings, remember, he said also that Soku had, his publication said in another article, Soku had Fazal Karimbash, give to Brutus and his wife large amounts of cash on the wedding day, but Karimbash, who was doing the investigation into Brutus, has been silent on that. The update, folks, is that the head of Soku himself as well has sent a lawyer's letter. To the Big Smith News Update. He has sent a lawyer's letter to the Big Smith update. So you got lawyers letter moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. Wedding house things, folks. Wedding house things. So Big Smith now is being demanded of. He's being asked to apologize and to retract that article concerning the minister within the Ministry of Local Government, who, according to Big Smith News Update, was one of the persons pushing this investigation forward into Brutus, pushing this investigation forward into Hickins. And now you got Karen Bash attorneys now saying retract or else. We're going to sue you. Retract or else. He said Karen Bash and see, he and no, he and went, he and been. Yep, we hear all them went to the wedding though. All them went to the wedding though. That's what we're hearing. And that's we're in the Ghana police force. My God. They're a content creator's dream. The Ghana police force. The Ghana police force's complaints authority. The complaints authority. Police complaints authority. They've issued a report recently. That's interesting reading. That is interesting reading. And one of the complaints authority gonna be part of investigating this wedding house story. This wedding, I wonder if they're gonna be part of it. Take a look, take a listen. Some of what that report, the Police Complaints Authority, the PCA, some of what has come out in that report. Police force not able.
At the Police Complaints Authority, Justice William Ramlal has issued a scathing report against the Ghana Police Force. Retired Assistant Police Commissioner Paul Slow quoted a media report on the findings of the Police Complaints Authority.
In a damning indictment of the Ghana Police Force, its oversight body, in its latest report, has described numerous shortcomings, including ignorance of or failure to adhere to standing orders, ignorance of fundamental rights and key laws, misuse of police powers, alleged unlawful arrest and intimidation.
This finding was based on investigations last year. Each year, the authority must submit a report. This one was submitted on October 10th last. Ramlal detailed various breaches of the Police Complaints Authority Act.
The PCA reported that 194 complaints were received against police officers, with 53 rejected and 22 pending investigations. While this may suggest widespread issues, the GPF argued the numbers do not adequately reflect the overall performance of its officers. It stressed that complaints represent a small fraction of the thousands of cases handled in 2023.
There were fatal police shootings that were forwarded to the PCA, but the PCA didn't investigate.
Justice Ramlal said he was unable to fulfill his statutory obligations because he did not supervise the investigations as required under the law. The investigations were conducted without proper oversight, a breach of sections 12, 13, and 14 of the PCA, that's the Police Complaints Authority Act, he said, asserting that the police were effectively acting as judge and jury in their own cause or in their own cases. Quote, these matters were all investigated by the police in flagrant violation of the law.
According to reports, Justice Lamlal reached out to President Irfan Ali to warn the police commissioner.
The PCA Act mandates that the authority is notified of any complaint regarding police conduct, especially in cases resulting in death. According to Justice Ramlal, failure to follow these procedures undermine the authority and ability to fulfill its role, particularly of submitting comprehensive reports to the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shalimar Aliak.
In the report, Justice Ramlal noted that of the 17 officers recommended for disciplinary action, nothing happened. He said that this suggested a troubling culture of impunity. These officers were cited for criminal charges.
With regards to the misuse of police powers, alleged unlawful arrest, and intimidation, The Guyana Police Force statement asserted that many of the incidents were unintentional and that the GDF strove to operate within the legal boundaries. Quote, we recognize that mistakes can occur, but our officers are trained to adhere to the law and fulfill their duties responsibly, end of quote.
Acting Commissioner Clifton Hicken was criticized for failing to consult the PCA regarding misconduct and disciplinary charges. Ramlal further stated
that this lack of communication has significant implications as it undermines the authority of the PCA and the rule of law.
Yep. All for your viewing pleasures, folks. All for your viewing pleasures. A lot happening in the Guyana Police Force. Wedding house things. Now you got in 9 nights. We still on wedding house issues, folks. We ain't gone to the... I want to unpack some of that before we bid you guys leave for the day. I want to unpack some of what came out of this Police Complaints Authority report. And in the morning, we're going to unpack some of those cases where police have been involved in shootings, bizarre shooting incidents involving the Guyana Police. I want to touch on some of that tomorrow on our morning program. You're going to want to join us there. Let's unpack some of what came out in this Police Complaints Authority report that is currently making the rounds, folks. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. Why isn't the Guyana Police Force, why isn't the Commissioner of Police, why isn't the Deputy Commissioner of Police allowing the Police Complaints Authority to fulfill its mandate and supervise these investigations? What is there to hide? That is the question. What is there to hide? Listen to some of what former senior policemen, former assistant commissioners of police, Paul Slow and Clinton Conway, said recently on this point of the Police Complaints Authority report.
Rights of citizens are being constantly violated by policemen and nothing is being done to correct the situation. I'll stop here and then we're going to analyze other part of that report.
There's nothing in the law, the Police Complaints Authority Act, Chapter 1702, which speaks to a chairman of the Police Complaints Authority. You get this right. They always talk about the chairman, even in this article. There is no chairman. Mr. William Ramlal, retired judge, is a Police Complaints Authority. He's not a chairman of a body. He is the Police Complaints Authority. So let me clarify that from the beginning. But then, as I've said before, I did address this. They said they contacted Mark Ramatar and that he said he was unaware if the Police Complaints Authority chairman, no chairman, shared the 2023 report with the Guyana Police Force. The law requires that the report, which is compiled annually, is sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Commissioner of Police. It is for the Commissioner of Police to bring it to the attention of his officers. When this thing became very into effect during Larry Lewis, I remember that very well. Larry Lewis was commissioner. And this gentleman, Kennard, was the PCA, Police Complaints Authority. And he used to put the report and so on. Larry Lewis established in almost every major police division a complaints authority desk, so to speak. So you had to, someone who was dedicated to following up on all the reports made, and commanders had to report at the weekly meetings about the progress on these reports. It was kept on the front burner. Now the law, as we are explaining, clearly states if a person dies as a result of police action and certain other offenses, wounding, discharging, loaded firearm, under certain other offenses on the Criminal Offences Act, once those complaints are made to the police, the Commissioner of Police is mandated to inform the Police Complaints Authority so that they can supervise the investigation. And the law explains what I mean by supervising the investigation. The Complaints Authority can ask them who is investigating. I'm not satisfied with that investigator, put somebody else. And he monitors the process. Statements are taken, I'm not satisfied with that statement. And that is how the investigation should be properly monitored to make sure at the end of the day, the Complaints Authority can comment before the file goes to the DPP.
Yeah. So the question remains, folks, why isn't the allowed to supervise these investigations? What is there to hide? That's the question indeed, folks. That is the question indeed. And that's the last bell. Thanks for joining us this evening. Joy Dotson and Brenda Moore. Carlton Smith, thanks for being here tonight. Donna Daly, Joy Lincook, Giselle Roman, Debbie and Gwyneth. Is it Gwyneth or Gwyneth? Joy Dotson, good to see you there. Lyndon Gill, Faye and Gloria. Good to have all of you on the live this evening, folks. Smash that emoji button before you go. Share the live, folks. Share it. Smash that emoji button, folks. And partner with us once you can. We got the notice of what you partner with us for the coming weeks, folks. It's pinned to the top of our Facebook page on credible sources. If we have not been reported and our page is still up and running, it's on that page, folks. We're going to see you guys on the next one. Morna and Camille, Pretty Milicia, Joylyn, Gwyneth, Rosetta, Marcel, Coral, Brent, and Jamal Aziz. Good to have all of you on the live, folks, this evening. That's our time and that's our program. Stay safe.